Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As I shared earlier in the week, we have several items for today's agenda to discuss. We have Mark Sutton with us, and he's going to talk about some facts and data from the coroner's office. And then we also have Chris Runyon and Brandon here to talk about OD-related runs over the last couple of years. Then we also have our guest from Branstetter, Carroll, that's going to do a presentation about Great Crossing Park and the possible addition of softball, baseball fields and such. And then the big thing we're doing here today is recognize our road department. And county government exists to serve our community, and everything we do, we try to focus on making sure that we do that. And we've got great first responders. We have great people up and down in all our departments, and that includes our road department. And our road department, whether it's when it's raining and storming in the spring and it's flooding and it's the middle of the night and a tree goes down and we've got to go out and get the road cleared, or it's like on the night of January 24th when this last winter storm rolled through and you all started and didn't stop and just kept our roads clear. And the importance of that job is so important for a whole community. There's, I believe, closer to 65,000 people now living in Georgetown, Scott County, and you all out in the middle of the night working to make sure everybody can get safely, as safe as possible, whether to a doctor's appointment, a hospital, work, taking their kids different places and such. You all do a fabulous job, and we're blessed to have you and blessed to have what you do, and wanted to make a point to thank you. So we've got a proclamation to read, and then I'd open it up for comments from the fiscal court and anybody else for that matter. So let me read that. Whereas during the recent winter storm beginning on the evening of Saturday, January 24th, 2026, Scott County experienced prolonged and hazardous weather conditions, including freezing rain, sleet, snow, and then extremely cold temperatures. And whereas these severe conditions created dangerous travel circumstances across Scott County, threatening the safety and mobility of residents, businesses, and first responders. And whereas the dedicated employees of the Scott County Road Department responded immediately and worked continuously throughout the week, often for extended hours and under harsh conditions, to treat, clear, and maintain more than 300 miles of county-maintained roads, including access to 48 subdivisions. And whereas their professionalism, skill, teamwork, and unwavering commitment ensured that roadways were made as safe as possible for emergency services, school transportation, essential workers, and the general public. And whereas the selfless service demonstrated by these employees exemplifies the highest standards of public service and reflects great credit upon themselves, Scott County Road Department and Scott County government as a whole. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Scott County Fiscal Court that we do hereby recognize, commend, and express our sincere appreciation to the employees of the Scott County Road Department for their exemplary service during the January 2026 winter storm. Further proclaim that the Scott County Fiscal Court extends its gratitude for their tireless efforts, dedication, and commitment to protecting the safety and well-being of the citizens of all of Scott County. Adopted this 6th day of February 2026. So I'd like to give everybody a big round. Any court member like to make comment or?
Judge, I would just say that these guys are so good that I have gotten reach out from Woodford County. They want Scott County's road department to come to Woodford County. They definitely want them to come to Lexington. And we just appreciate everything. And I call these guys the hometown heroes because they have taken care of our roads and our county. And we deeply appreciate everything you all do.
Rick Hosteller, I knew I could depend on you to quit.
Well, Judge, I have the privilege to serve the northern part of the county. It's mostly rural, not all, but mostly, and there are some subdivisions. And I did get calls, and it was always praising our Scott County Road Department. And in fact, their biggest concern was, unfortunately, some of the state roads. And I got a call from, not in the district, but friends of mine who were so thankful a county road leading out of a subdivision that also fronted on a state road. They said, man, we're so thankful. Our subdivision's clean, and the county road leading out, well, that's what we're using. Because unfortunately, and look, it was a big storm. And so, and they realized that, even the folks that called me. But they're concerned. I got no complaints about the county, which I wasn't expecting any. They do this every time their button's pushed. They come to the table and they do the job. So I'm very thankful. You make us look really good.
Anybody?
Well, I was just going to say, like, where I travel a lot throughout the state, I mean, the one thing I can always brag about is our county road department and JR and his team of leadership. They're always ready. They're always prepared. They got, their equipment ready. They're not sitting on their hands. So it's fun to be able to go to other counties and kind of, brag about our team. So I appreciate you guys. You guys do a great job. And I know you help the schools out a ton, too, because back in my day with schools, we always could count on you. So really appreciate you.
Well, I was going to say, your former position, you had that firsthand knowledge.
We pushed some
as
snow.
well.
Yeah, we pushed some snow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been going to soccer a lot in Lexington with my kids, and it's just very clear when you leave Scott County and go into a different county, and it just shows it's your all's hard work, and probably need to get the trucks gassed up and ready to go in a couple of hours, so don't need to keep them here too long. Get some coffee on your way out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the court and to JR I live in the city. So in my neighborhood, I live in Bradford, so I want to thank the court and JR and all you folks for helping out in the city as well to get our neighborhood where it needed to be. So trust me, on our neighborhood page, it is very recognized that you all were out there and very thankful.
Rob Jones.
Thankful, too, we didn't have to have somebody from up north come down and show us how not to do it in the first place. and then your families. I mean, without those backing you guys, you probably couldn't do what you do. So appreciate your families and appreciate what y'all do.
Billy Parker, our superintendent of schools, talks with JR constantly when weather's coming, and then Billy and I talk quite a bit. And Billy, I wanted to invite Billy. I told Billy we were recognizing the road department, and Billy wanted to come. So, Billy, thank you for being here.
Yeah, just really quickly, JR knows how I feel about our county road crews, but I mean, gold standard. That is how I would describe our road department. We went, granted we didn't go today, but my magic crystal ball told me it probably wasn't a good idea, so we'll see if that's right or not. But in all seriousness, we were able to go yesterday, and I had other districts calling me saying, how on earth are you all going? And I was double, thinking twice about what we were doing because I'm like, am I missing something? So we crossed our T's and dotted our I's 17 times because, everybody else was so concerned that we were going. But again, you all, it's difficult. I'm always in a difficult position making calls for school, and you all make it as easy as you can. And there's a lot of times where I know where I'm going to have to worry in the mornings, and it's generally not about county roads. So I just want you all to know, and I've expressed it before, and if you've been around JR when we're cutting up and carrying on at 3 in the morning, talking on the phone, you all know I appreciate what you do, and I thank you so much for what you do for our community.
And Billy, I appreciate you because as my former job as principal of Scott County High School, you constantly had concern about the personal safety of kids that you're responsible for. Billy's job being responsible, how many total students do we have?
A little over 2,000.
And make a little over 10,000. And making that call is so tough. You want them in in-person instruction, you want to feed them, and all those things. But the job the road department does makes his job easier, and we appreciate it. So I just want to call folks up and give them a proclamation with your name on it and tell you we really appreciate you. And then, before I move on though, JR, your leadership and your help, your team, we appreciate you very much. And you want to share anything?
I would echo just what everybody said. Got a great team here, some great supervisors. We all work as a big team, and we'll all jump in and do what needs to be done. And gosh, I got a warm, fuzzy feeling with all this. We won't go any farther than that. Warm and fuzzy.
Jeff Abshire, come up here.
Call Jeff, who's in very, very.
Jeff, thank you. Appreciate it. Chris E. Thank you. Chris Darnell. And Willie. Thank you. Willie, you didn't take any cussings on that phone a few times. Maybe one or two. And then William Fields. And then George Miller. William here? There he is. Yeah. Thank you, sir. And then we've got Colin McKinney. And Shane Worm. And Jason Williams. Danny Tech. West Jason. Thank you. Stephen Snowden. And then Bruno. Stephen, appreciate you. Bruno, you've got to help me with that last one. Bruno McCollum. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Corey Swanson. And Jesse Pugh. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We've got Jonathan McKinney and Michael Campax. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you. Wesley Bryant and Wayne. And Randy Fitzgerald. And Gary Kelly. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, Tim. Thank you, sir. Jeff McCreary. Daniel Ebert. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. And Matt Elam and Robbie. Colton Dixon. And then, last but not least, I haven't left anybody. Have we left anybody out? There's two. No. I'm sorry. Oh, wait.
They keep popping up here.
Clay Bruin and David Cannon. Clay. We can't leave you there. Thank you.
I should scratch them out.
I think we got them all. We got them all? Yeah. All right. Then, last but not least, let's give a big hand for our leader, our fearless leader, J.R. Brady. Would y'all come up here and let is take one picture and then we'll let you turn you loose. And then just come up here and we'll crowd all in. Yeah, y'all just, we'll just go ahead
Anything going on?
Panorama.
Okay, I can't tell if I got all the faces, but all the bodies are in. All right, 1, 2, 3. Stay there, I'm gonna zoom in a little. All right, 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right.
Except one of them got left out.
We will turn this presentation and time over to my friends from Branstad Carroll. Monica, how are you? And then I do want to make one announcement before Monica starts. I had a message from our mayor, Mayor Jones in Stamping Ground, and she wanted to make sure that I passed on appreciation from Jennifer, not only as her role at 911, but as mayor of Stamping Ground as well. But she also mentioned some of our EMA staff. So on Friday, we're going to do a few proclamations for a few EMA staff. And Mike, we appreciate you, and you will help me navigate that. But today I wanted to highlight our road department, and really can't say enough good things. And I think our friends from Branstad Carroll, you all, Micah lives in Danville, Bull County. I don't know where exactly you all live, but we are blessed to have just a great group of people there, and glad to have you all here this morning. I'll turn it over to Monica.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate working in Scott County so much. We've done a lot of work here. We find everyone just to be kind and courteous and helpful, and I'm really thankful I got to observe that ceremony for the workers. My daddy was a blue-collar worker. He was a lineman for Kentucky Utilities his whole career. That's hard storm work, too. And I got all the feels, too, like JR did, just appreciating what these men do to keep us all safe and running and rolling. So, all right, I've got a big team of people here today. We are going to talk about the potential future of Great Crossing Park. We created sort of a high-level conceptual sketch, really as a conversation starter, to be able to have prompts for you all to talk to us about what you want, need, what's the features that are going to best serve your community. We know that a couple of court members are very passionate about this park. We look forward to hearing from you all about those opinions. Pat Hoagland is going to join me at the microphone, and Pat has designed hundreds of parks. How many, Pat? You know. Hundreds. Okay. He is no stranger to Scott County Parks, and he's going to come up here with me and really lead the presentation. Phil Schilfarth runs our recreation group at Branstad Carroll. So he's in the thick of recreation trends, manages projects and construction all over the region. And we have Nathan Wright, who is also a landscape architect and will be helping us with the design of this park once it gets up and rolling. We understand that we are to develop a scope for this work, and that work starts today. to hear from you about what you want and need. And from there, then, we will be able to provide the judge with a scope and a contract for you all to look over. With that, let's see, is the work on the screen? Not yet?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, so.
All right. Pat, I'm going to let you start.
All right.
And you know me, I'm not quiet, so
Nope.
I may chime in.
Pop in.
All right.
Is there a flipper or just tell them when to?
You just
Zach
tell them.
Zach will move it.
I got it, got it.
Just say
He's
next.
great.
All right. So
You can
the
have that.
first thing is, you've got this, and it'll be at the end of the presentation too, so I think it might be good to, well, no, go back to that one.
Yeah, there
Okay,
you go.
thanks.
We're good, Zach.
Yeah, as Monica said, this is just really a high level, taking the plan that was provided to us, and so I guess some of the grading was done to get ready for this next phase. And some of the things that we were asked about was looking, what if we did a 5-field complex instead of a 4-field complex? And we started looking at that, and then some people expressed some concerns about the amount of parking out here. So we looked at that, and I've counted cars. It's so many complexes. You need 60 cars per field. That, accounts for, the people that are playing, the coaches, plus the next group that's coming in, and spectators. If you go to a lot of complexes and count that they don't have 60 cars per field, they're parked in a field or on the street or something else. So that's one thing to look at. And then we were also looking at, where would be a good spot to possibly put an amphitheater. When we did the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we suggested this is a secondary option for that, and the Scott County Park would be a good place for it as well. So that's something to explore, which might be better.
And Pat, if I could.
Sure.
And the original site concept, before I was part of the fiscal court, and help me, you all please share, but, an amphitheater has been on this, there's always been an amphitheater down here in the left corner from day one. So that's why it's part of the conversation.
Right.
And, this is what I would call phase, we got those, what would we call this? Phase 2, I guess, of what we're looking at, or
We did
such.
1.5, right? So we're at 2 now.
So we did do 1.5. So
Yeah.
so that's where the amphitheater conversation is part of this as well. So Pat, thank you for letting me interrupt you.
Sure, no problem. And where it is, where you see it in red up here, that's where that was what the plan that was given to us. That's going to be tight in that area. We're knowing with all the existing pavement. Another thing that was told to us was we want everything inside that ball field complex to be paved. It's a hard maintaining grass with all the people that are hanging around. So you're going to have more pavement and more parking, and that's going to need more stormwater detention. So what I show on here, these 2 areas for stormwater detention probably isn't enough, but that's something to be worked out in the design portion of this. But let me come back to this plan. Just start showing some other images and see just some ideas. So, other way. Oh, that's just the existing conditions on the site. And then, so this is a complex, and there's like 3 complexes I'm putting up here. This is Bridgeport, West Virginia. This was actually 2 mountaintops cut off, fill the valley in between, and build these ball fields. And they have a lot of tournaments at this facility. And they have since then built a rec center and some other things as well.
Do you remember what the cost was on that?
$8 million in 5 contracts back in 2012.
8 million in 5 contracts.
5 different contracts, because it was a monstrous earth moving. They're used to moving mountains in West Virginia, and this is right next to an airport where they had to cut a mountaintop off too. So,
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
And just for my reference, when I'm looking at 4 versus 5, do you know how much total acres that is versus what we're working with, what you've proposed?
oh, good question.
Or square feet or area? I'm just trying to see that's 4, could it, I'm just trying to get an idea of area.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine.
It ends up being a couple acres of field, roughly.
Yeah, probably. By the time you get parking and everything in there.
Do you think that's
I think a
4
4-field complex is typically by the time you get parking, about 25 acres. That was, I just remember that number from a 4-field adult softball complex we did. So this is a little smaller fields than that, so it'd be a little less than that.
Ryan, just for frame of reference, that area inside there is 26 acres.
Yep.
Not including the sheriff's office?
I know, I think it's the whole
I
footprint.
think, yeah, right,
That footprint inside that drive,
yeah, yeah.
that's my understanding.
Yep. So then the next slide is a couple of details from this one. You can see that you got covered bleachers, and you got some of that at Scott County Park now, and nice dugouts with some storage areas, and a 2-story press box building that also serves as an office building. And one of the conversations we've been told is you don't necessarily need that second floor on this complex because you've got it on the other one, so.
Just restrooms and concessions.
Right.
Primarily storage.
Right. And then this one, they started out with like angled backstops over, and then they changed it back to nets like you've got on your other one. And go to the next.
Pat?
Sure.
So I'm trying to, in my mind,
Yep.
vision where the amphitheater, and I know that's probably not priority number one, but
that's
it's possibly in the planning.
Right.
And the parking lot being behind it, and I understand the idea about having parking close to the amphitheater and
Right.
for handicap accessibility and all that. But on the flip side of things, from an aesthetic standpoint, does it make sense to have the amphitheater, if you're looking straight into a parking lot?
Right.
Versus maybe having the parking lot behind it and you're looking out on the creek, from a scenic standpoint?
Yeah, that parking lot, yeah, I agree. One of the key things you got to look at for both ball fields and the amphitheater are that north-south orientation. You want, a little bit, you don't want your performers or your audience looking into the sun as it's setting. And it's usually evening performances, so especially that west sun is the worst. So you want to be, this one is oriented so that you're looking north. Now, I guess you could try to flip those, but this parking lot we show here, that's why a big black line with a retaining wall, it's going to need a good-sized retaining wall to do that. But you're also got your ball fields elevated above everything, so we got to get parking as much as we can to that level. Your parking now is all below, so we're going to need some switchbacks to get handicap accessibility up there.
Yeah.
And like the judge suggested, idea of some hillside slides coming down to the playground, and you can easily do that. You can build that right in, and I'll show you some examples of that in a little bit here.
And just the topography where you place the amphitheater, the seating goes up a slight grade.
Yes, it does.
And your stage or whatever would be at a lower grade.
Level, right.
But I understand what Chad's saying is
We could
want to look at a parking lot.
Yeah.
You could, not ideal, and that's where it was before over there where it says stormwater detention. It's just pretty tight in that area.
It's a little hidden too.
Yeah,
I think
it's out of the way.
There's something to say when people come to the park for a baseball game, maybe they're not the type of family that goes to other things, but people like to be comfortable, know where to go, where things are, where do I park, how do I get there? Is any apprehension might prevent them from going? And so I think the exposure of that amphitheater as a feature could encourage families to come out to things they might not always do as well, instead of hiding it back. Although we do understand the desire to have it under the trees, looking over the creek. I mean, all of that's lovely. But we're concerned with the topography and grading and the sun angles and the accessibility. So it's a little bit more of a technical approach, but ultimately we have to balance that.
But what we could do is take that amphitheater and move it, sort of switch the two.
Yeah, the parking.
Put a little bit of parking, maybe one bay of parking instead of 3 on that side, then do the amphitheater below it, and then put some more parking across the street. It's all going to take a good bit of earthwork to do. There's going to be a lot of dirt out here. That's why one of the key first steps is to get a good survey once the snow is gone.
Could it go, and I have to go back out there, like where the dog park ends, between the dog park on that side?
Yeah, it's starting to slope in the other direction there too.
And you want slope for your amphitheater,
Right.
but you can't have too much.
Yeah.
You'll have
And-
people rolling down the hill.
When you do the amphitheater, we haven't gotten into the details of how that would be designed, but a lot of times you'll have some upfront seating. It could even be permanent seats, and then some maybe terrace seating, and then some lawn seating up above that. So you want that lawn area up above as well. So we could switch some of that around. But I think maybe switching the amphitheater and the parking, but we want to try to get as much parking as possible at that same level as the ball fields to make it easy for people to. Yeah. That's that idea. Let me go on to the next slide here. So this is in Danville at Millennium Park. It's called Millennium Park. So it was the first, our second phase was open in 2000, but they have a lot of tournaments at that facility. They have 2 4-field complexes at that site. A lot of walking trails, a lot of things for people to do, and they host a bunch of tournaments as well. Let me see, the next slide. And here's, you can see the press box building that mimics the train station right down close to that. Just some sitting areas between the fields. The parks director at the time was an umpire, and he wanted the bleachers beyond the dugouts, just to keep spectators away from the umpire. But they've since changed that. Created a lot of other problems. But it's a really nice park if you ever go out there. It's really aged very, very well. Just the nice topography in the area. So a lot of interest.
And I want to make note of the areas between the fields. It looks like brick or but it's got seating, and that's one thing that we have to address is those areas in between, just making them more the maintenance easier, and then more usable for folks, spectators, and such.
Good point.
Those picnic tables are hot commodities. This is the park that my family uses, and families are always out there with their food, and even when it's not baseball season, people use those picnic tables. Kids who are there in the skate park or whatnot, they hang out around those tables. It's very open. It's easy for observation. It's safe. The restrooms are usually open year-round also. So those don't just serve the ball fields, even though they do. They serve really the whole park, and that's been a very nice feature out there.
Is that set up like ours where everything pitches to the center, to the tables?
You mean the grade of it?
The water.
The water.
See, that's the problem with ours. Everything pitches.
Towards the center?
Yes. And our drains in the middle.
No, it drains to the outside.
Yeah,
Those
all
things
of
in
ours-
our fields, there's curtain drains around the fields, and everything on the inside pitches, just like those roofs on the dugouts, toward those tables.
No.
You're constantly sweeping the field out of the dugout after
Yeah.
the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that's when it rains,
Yeah,
people put their tents on the grass in the middle,
right.
Right.
which the water is pitched to. You follow me?
Yep, that's why you want pavement in there, right?
That's our problem.
Yeah.
And it can't just be, you just can't pave over it because it's where all the water drains.
Right,
So
right.
it's a twofold.
You got
something to think
drain
about.
it, yeah.
And
Go-
another quick thing, while
Sure.
the amphitheater, I know that's down the road, but. Okay, all right, we'll do that tomorrow. I know, if you have a concert out there for the weekend, you would probably only use half the park. You can't have 2 big functions, one
No,
second.
no,
So
Right.
my point is, when you're working that in, don't be scared to work it in with the ball fields. You can't do both. You understand what I'm saying?
okay.
So it doesn't just have to be, you can't do both. You don't have the parking. And that's what I was saying, 4 fields or 5, it doesn't matter. You need all the parking you can get. So it's not gonna change the parking very much, the fifth field. Of course, it'll change on the turf.
Right.
But you with me on that a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yep.
So-
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because it would, like I said, right now, what I counted on the ball field area, you've got 266 parking spaces. And when you add another 5 fields, you need a total of 540, so you're 274 spaces short. That's, it's more than you've got now. That's how much more parking you need. You've already used all the flat land. So we got to be creative on getting those 274 cars in here. And that's not counting the tennis and the pickleball areas that, from what I'm hearing, are getting, when you have the high schools having matches there, you need more parking in that area too. So you got some challenges there. But that's all the fun stuff that we get to play with.
I drove by the pickleball the other day, and Tim had mentioned this as well. Some high school kids came and cleared a pickleball court, and it was like 15 degrees. It was like 18 degrees.
Wow.
Tim said they played like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Be young again, right?
Yeah. See if they want to work for the road department.
Clear it off, play basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Pat, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. And then the other point on this slide is you need to have you've got a new playground out there, which is going to be great. You have to have other things, because if you're going to try to host tournaments, you're competing with a lot of other complexes throughout the state, the region, and everybody's upping their game because they're trying to get people, heads in beds and people in the restaurants. And so you've got to have like first-class facilities, and you've got to have a lot of other things to do, because when you're there for a tournament, you're there all day. And your siblings are there, they got to have things to do. So you got the walking trail will be great, especially with the loop. The playgrounds will be great. We can have some shelters that can provide some shade. So people, like those teams can sort of gather in those shelters, so they can, in this case, if we have them oriented here, you could look out over the river there, and look over the playground. So I think we can make a really nice complex here. Go to the next slide, please. And this one is a 5-field complex in Muhlenberg County. It's funny because they started off with 3 fields having grass in fields and 2 having dirt. They slowly moved to where they're all dirt because girls softball brings more people than the boys do. When you get, especially the older boys, they all just come with the coaches. The parents don't care as much. The grandparents aren't coming as much. But the girls softball brings the most people if you're trying to get heads in beds and those kind of things. So they slowly switched to that. This was a whole big story of a gentleman that passed away and left $50 million for quality of life improvements in the county. And one of their biggest needs was things for kids to do. So we did a master plan for all the parks. School board superintendent said, we've got 250 acres behind the high school that we don't need. The land was given to us. You can put the park there. So this is the first phase of that park with tennis and basketball and batting cages, and it's right next to the high school. So it's become a really, really source of pride for that community. But just want to show, and there's a couple slides that show some of the elements of that.
You know what interested me is the 20,000 visitors per tournament.
Yep.
Per weekend. I
Well,
wonder
not per tournament, but for the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
What that would be in tourism dollars.
Yep.
Brought in.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's significant, and what we've kind of morphed and like over the last several years is our Parks and Rec, from whenever we let them on until the 1st of June when they conclude their youth softball and youth baseball seasons, they have priority scheduling, and we're using that facility now. If you added these 5, and we'll get more information from Drew, but you added these 5, and then in June they schedule that out, it's going to significantly draw more interest. But I really think we're meeting the needs of the community, and then our youth softball and youth baseball, they schedule tournaments in the summer as well, and Drew can share some numbers about how much our league has grown and just why it's important. But what you're saying is the indirect impact of adding these. So Pat,
what you're just talking about, Great Crossing has a tournament out there, the high school.
No, forgot that.
And Scott County also has a tournament out there. With Great Crossing's tournament, we've got, I believe, 16 teams. So, and they're traveling from Indiana, Ohio, Warren, Western Kentucky, which means they're going to be staying the night because it's a Friday, Saturday tournament. We had more fields, we would have more teams.
I start booking the end of November, and I'm booked before I ever start. I turn them away. So booking's not a problem. Bringing people's not a problem. The fields will stay full. Yeah, I'm not worried about fields. We're booked. I mean, like I said, every year we turn people away, so that's the problem. And on those big tournaments, like I said, they're going to eat here, back ass here, sleep here. So, but we did that at Elizabethtown. And they did an impact study. It was kind of crazy when you hear the numbers because you don't realize it, but you do it to pick the paper up that day.
And that's why Paducah's building a new complex with a lot of fields. Madisonville, Henderson County and Hendersonville Henderson, Kentucky just has built a new complex. So there's a lot of communities building complexes around, and more that are talking about it. We did one in Carter County and in Grayson area as well. So there's So anything you can do to make yours better than those is gonna really help.
With our location.
Yeah, you got a good location. And there's a lot to do in town here. You got good restaurants, the one in Muhlenberg County, there's only like 2 good restaurants, and there are no hotels. So, and they're still getting tournaments there, so. Yet it's in the middle of nowhere. All right. So you see the one-story restroom concession, building with it's not the style of your building. We would probably try to keep the styles similar on the building. But you notice the large baseball over here? Every field has a big concrete baseball with a bank's name on it. The tennis court has a tennis ball with a company's name on it or an individual's name on it. The playground has a big Legos with a company's name on it. And they sold the whole complex, so they double sold the complex.
So, Drew, has it changed? Has the bylaws been changed? Operating procedure on being able to name parks on your all's end? Okay. Well, I know we had talked about it for the pavilion, but I didn't know if that made it for countywide or citywide.
6 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago, they changed that.
I know we
They have
talked
naming
about it, but I
rights.
didn't know if they had actually done it.
They had done it.
To be able to.
There's no easy answer, David, for parks, where we're like city and county, so.
Right.
County parks, good to go.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, so like the shelter's got the name of a funeral home up on the top part of the shelter. So everything in that park is sponsored. And they have a whole menu of things. And the funny thing was they had so much interest in this park, they raised $800,000 in 3 weeks. But they had a committee that was really dedicated, really pushing it hard, and just so, and the Mountain Foundation didn't want to pay for the whole thing. They said, you got to have some skin in the game. So that was the community's contribution. So, okay, go to the next one. And we start getting into some other features. Looking at artificial turf. So up here, you got one that's all artificial turf. On the upper right is a field. We just did the two, the upper right and the lower left are both the same complex. It's a high school field where they did the infield, but not the outfield. Because that's the main area that gets all the wear and tear. The difficult part is right here where you've got that transition. Here it's pretty good, but sometimes that transition between grass and the turf can be difficult. Your contractor's got to do a good job at that. And sometimes you usually extend your infield out a little bit because you don't want your shortstop and second baseman being in the grass. You want them to be in the turf. There's different ways of doing the turf as well. Some of them will put like the brown just around the base paths because that's where it gets, not the whole base path, but just around the bases. So when that gets worn out, you just take out that brown piece and replace it with another one rather than get little patches here and there.
Pat, on the fence size on the 5 complex deal, the 5 field complex, is it all 200 feet or?
There's one at 225, the top one, because that would be that's
other
the best
4 at
sun
200.
orientation. There's 2 at 210 and 2 at 200.
Okay.
So does that fit with what you think? Okay, that's what you got now, and that's what we were told you wanted to try to do.
Yeah.
And that 225 one, we put it on that side because that's the best sun orientation. 15 degrees east or north is what you want from home plate out to center field. Yeah. We can take that and actually sink it down a little bit and put some really nice bleachers, built into the hillside a little bit if you really wanted to make that your premier championship field. That's something that you could do there where that's positioned. And you can see where all those little black lines are on there. That's where I guess that's where the grading is now. So we're shifting that over a little bit. We're gonna have to do some more filling. And you got a big mound of dirt there. We're gonna use every bit of that.
Pat, do you see this bottom left hand? You have like looks like soccer and baseball together.
Right.
Do those get used? Like do you think that's a good idea? I mean, I don't. Or I assume that's multi-use.
Right. We bid that out as the infields as the base bid and an alternate to do the outfields so that they could do multi sports in there. Now those are all smaller fields, like 200 to 215 feet fields. And they need more soccer fields and more other fields.
Those soccer lines are permanent?
I don't think they are. I think they just paint those
They
on.
paint
so
'em.
you just, so the other seat,
Yeah.
You get to the point sometimes, we get some fields up in Anderson Township, east of Cincinnati, and there's 2 large-size football fields and soccer fields. There's lacrosse lines, there's small soccer fields. I mean, there's so many colors of lines, it gets really crazy out there.
Like E-Town has that on their multi-purpose fields. They have 2 huge football, soccer,
Right.
lacrosse. I think there's even a baseball field on one of them.
Yeah, you can do that. So this was an alternate for them, and they had the money, the bids came in good, so they ended up putting that in so that they could play other sports on it as well. Now, if you have a grass outfield, you're not gonna do that. But you've already paying for lights on these fields, so why not maximize the use? Just, other than the fields that aren't getting used all the time, so. Sometimes you're competing between soccer and lacrosse and baseball. You just gotta schedule that. If that's something you want to do or not. And they decided to go with this nice pattern with the stripes. You can go on to the next one. Now, the little amphitheaters is one in Clarksburg, West Virginia. They get some big acts at this place. Maybe about 5,000 people they get. It's an all terraced seating. It's worked out real well. And it's got dressing rooms behind the stage there.
Is that terrace with fold-out chairs?
It's terraced, yeah. Whole bunch of terraces.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see them, but I would love terraces wherever you go.
Yeah.
Because nobody, they just go east, that's all.
Yeah, go to the next slide. Here you can see the terraces. This is in one of the townships up in the Cincinnati area, in Coleraine Township. This is the same shelter, but a little smaller version of it. But you want to make sure you have an area for people to dance out front and the terraces up the hillside. They can bring lawn chairs and sit on those, or they can sit on the walls. We have done other ones where you had permanent seats for like the first 5 or 6 rows. You can sell those seats and then terrace it up from there. So there's a lot of different things you can do. It depends on what kind of acts you're going to get.
How many people would you say that seats? Is this the same size you would say we would have, and how many people
That's one idea. Let's see.
Just ballpark. I have no concept of how many people that thing could fit.
Yeah,
You might want to take a trip up here. It's just outside of Cincinnati.
yeah, that one's,
It's really, really.
I'll be up
really
there
nice.
next week for a soccer tournament.
yeah.
You all do Moonbow? Is that what it's
Moon
called?
dance.
Moon dance?
Moon dance, no.
Okay.
But I go there all the time. It's in my neighborhood, so
Do you have a guesstimate on what that seats?
it's all lawn seats, or you can sit on the walls. I'd say you're not going to get more than like
Moon dance
400 or
is,
500
over
up
in
there or something
Beaumont.
like that.
Like, do you think something like this is like 150 or like 300?
No, this, I think,
I was trying to.
I can get about 650 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so a lot more.
on this one, I sort of counted, if you had some permanent seats up front and then people in the terraces. Now, that one in Clarksburg, we were gonna do grass terraces, they decided to pave it all because they didn't wanna have to mow the grass on those terraces. And I think these terraces, we tried to make them wide enough to where you could do a picnic with the pops and put a table on them if you wanted to. So, and it depends on, your slope is a little steeper than this. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a fun earthwork problem.
But neither one of them have backdrops of parking lots.
No, they don't. No, they don't. I agree. Yeah, I think we switched those two.
I see buildings in the back.
Yeah.
We put some of the parking, put the amphitheater maybe down where the parking is. And we can go.
I was saying you could do it on the ball field side, or where you were talking about, where it's so pretty down that bottom.
Yeah.
Facing that way, you can't face west, but you can move it on that side and face over that way. And work it in with that, you know what I mean?
Moon dance seats approximately 2,000.
Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Well, they got a big grass area up above.
Yeah.
So, and that's nice to have that because they'll set up inflatables for kids to play on, all that kind of stuff in there.
I mean, I guess what you're saying is that backdrops wise, you should create a backdrop.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah, you'd put a bunch of,
Parking lot behind those trees.
It could be.
You just can't see it.
you put a bunch of pines back there and you wouldn't see much of the parking. But yeah, I think we could, yeah, well, the plan will come back up in a minute here. Let's go to the next slide. Now, yeah, Judge, you talked about hillside slides.
So this is, I asked them to, we have to be able to get from our existing playground, parking, and transition from that area up to the new Wagon Wheel or Cloverleaf, and where we intentionally put the playground, we've talked about incorporating that hillside, and this is what they're talking about. This is what they're sharing.
So we could make that fun. So there's just some examples there. Go on to the next one. And also, we can develop sort of to enhance your playground area. You could have some natural play elements, and I had to get a picture in the upper left of my grandkids. They're my park testers. But there's a lot of different ways you can have some really nice natural play areas and use natural elements. And go to the next one. Okay, now we're back to the plan. So, like what we could do is take that amphitheater and move it, just sort of maybe switch that with the parking, put like one bay of parking close to the road and then put the amphitheater behind it. Might look at where that stormwater detention area is. Maybe the amphitheater goes back there and you can keep some of this parking. So there's some things. I just think it's too tight where it had been over on the side. Looking over the Elkhorn would be great.
Is that self-limiting though? Like if you put it where the park,
Yeah.
like currently, right, you have options for people to stand and or grass area behind it. But
Right.
if you move it over, if it's 500 people, you're stuck at, like,
Right.
you know.
Correct.
That'd be my one concern, moving it.
Yeah.
You're kind of
That's what's
stuck.
nice about this area up here, because we can put some parking up close to it. You'll have parking across the road right there. You can come over from the dog park parking lot. And you got a lot of grass area up above. And we can put lots of trees and things behind it to mask out some of the parking lots and things. And we could even sink, well, no, that parking lot needs to go out and have a wall, so.
One of the benefits we talked about having it somewhat in this area too is for control of noise pollution. You have it closer to the Elkhorn, you've got the farms and the residents on the other side, so we're putting it closer there when you have larger events. So just some different things to kind of balance and look at, those in the background, noise pollution, things like that.
Yeah. And you see the trails, we just put some potential routes for some trails again. Once we get some better mapping and topography, we'll be able to play with those trails a little bit, make sure we can get them all as much as possible handicap accessible. We'll have to keep them under 5% if we can. And we want to try to get a little bit of parking if we can down by the tennis area. That's going to be a challenge. Again, you got a lot of slope in that area, but I know you need some more parking down there.
Yeah, so Pat, I talked to Monica about this yesterday, and where y'all have proposed the parking, Great Cross is going to be having their high school matches over there now, plus we got pickleball, so we got buses coming in and out. And Tim, I'm going to kind of defer to you because we've talked about this before, and Judge, is there a way to put parking behind the pickleball courts and have an entrance off of where we currently have, there's a picnic shelter, and it's where the old dam used to be. You could come in that direction, the land's flatter, and you could put parking on that side versus where it's proposed currently.
That's where the walking trail starts now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, down in here?
Yeah. I'm just throwing this out just to throw it out and brainstorm
We
on
could
it.
look at that.
That's not a bad spot at all. You come in by I almost said under dam, but you're not coming in under dam.
Yeah.
Where a dam used to be.
But anyway, right here by that building, there's an old. Area 419.
FKA.
You can put a lot of parking there.
Yeah.
There's actually,
I have a question.
There's a gate.
I want to kind of go off Chad. We go to E-Town Sports Complex for soccer. We're going to into Warren's we're about to go to Voice of America Park here in a couple weekends.
Okay.
Traffic flow. When you start putting this many people into a park, right? It's not even almost getting in, especially E-Town Sports Complex, because it has one in, one out.
Right.
A lot of these, Voice of America has a couple, but it's still, you start putting that many people, would you say 560 cars?
Yeah.
I mean, what will traffic flow look like here? Because the current road is already narrow as it is.
Right.
Like that's one of the main concerns I have, is because sometimes we're stuck in those things 30, 40 minutes just trying to get out because there's no flow.
Right.
You just have that many
Right.
cars.
Right. Yeah, we have, we're putting another connecting road, so like go up from the sheriff's department down, so you'll have two ways.
Did you make it
out
one
there.
way?
Could do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if we want to
I'm
or
not
not,
traffic
but-
control. Tim and Drew are shaking their head, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you could, because it's a road coming in, and at the dog park side where you were talking about putting the next
go that way.
there's that one road, no.
And the problem with one way is nobody reads signs. They want to do what they want to do. They want to go, so sometimes a counterintuitive movement,
Yeah.
they just won't do. So I
Yeah.
think two-way would probably serve you best.
We want to keep kids, so they drive in, can't drive out.
Part of the problem.
You gotta pay to get out.
This will be I guarantee.
One other technical question, so.
Sure.
Sewer, I know there's a pump station down here by,
Yep.
by where the pickleball, below the pickleball
Right.
courts. So will we have to put another pump station in?
That's something we'll have to look at. We don't know what the capacity of that one is. You might need to up the size of that. We'll have to just look at the calculations do the engineering on it to see what because you're gonna add a lot more people
Yeah,
up here as well.
I think we have capacity, but I can't remember. But so it could gravity flow down, but there's a possibility we might have to put a pump station in.
Yeah, if you're already using using force main, as I see that along the road here, yeah, you're probably gonna need it up there too.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go to the next slide real quick. So we did some real quick numbers. Again, these do not include the major earthwork that might need to be done. But just trying to compare 4 fields, 5 fields, and the natural turf, artificial turf infields and artificial turf full fields, and what the cost in millions would be. And you can keep the PowerPoint on the thumb drives if you want. There's both a PDF of it and a thing. But, so you're looking at 5.9 million for the 4 fields versus 6.5 for the natural turf, 6.9 to 8.2 and 8.5 to 10.2 on all artificial turf fields. I know Drew wants all artificial turf, right? But, and that's not including the new parking, because that parking lot where we're showing up here next to the right of the ball fields, that's over $1 million right there with the parking and the walls that had to be done.
Pat, is it on the natural turf, is that including like sprinkler systems?
Yeah,
and
irrigation system. Yeah, you'd have an
that
irrigation
price is
system on
incorporated in that.
And if you had the artificial turf outfield, you'd have irrigation on the outfield.
I'd say if you're gonna do it, I would be for artificial. I mean, it's just, you can use it longer in the season, earlier in the season, use it through rain.
The biggest debate, I guess, they do the whole field.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh?
You save tons of money on your.
Maintenance, you don't have to water it,
Right.
Mow it.
you don't have to mow it.
And I know that, when you're taking your kids.
You're not brushing the infield out of the dugouts.
Yes.
The problem Dwayne was doing just, the infield is your outfield still floods. So then once it settles, you'll still get, I mean, there's just no way around
You'll have
it.
some massive rain event.
Yeah.
3 games into your season.
Everybody's got a budget.
And I know that from my nephews that play travel ball and now playing college ball, moms in Indianapolis and dads in Columbus, on the weekends, they don't want to sit in a hotel waiting for fields to dry. They won't go to a complex that doesn't have artificial turf.
I gave y'all the example of we got rained out in Nashville and got up at, I think it was like 6 o'clock on Saturday morning and drove to Indianapolis to get into that tournament for softball. It was, I'm actually only 39. I just look 70. And what I wanted to point out too, that had been mentioned before when I was talking to them, to the folks, is you could actually do 5 fields, and they came up with this idea, but maybe leave, in order for cost savings, for the time being, not develop that 5th field with turf on it, but make it a grass area where people could go to and hang out in between games, kids could go play.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, they're gonna get more expensive.
I'm just saying, because at the end of the day with that, the only thing you're doing is turf, because you'll have your lights up, you'll have everything done and ready. You're just coming in to do, if it got to be extremely cost sensitive.
I think if you do turf, you do turf. Because if you do turf and grass,
Right.
that's the most expensive part to maintain and mow and try to keep it off the turf. You still gotta water, you gotta fertilize it. I mean, let's not be a little pregnant, let's either It's not,
You're the argument.
I like that.
I might steal that saying.
Well, some of the items, if Zach could go back to the site,
Sure.
you know, just some of the things that when Monica and I met, kind of planning to have Branch Terry Carroll here at this meeting, some of the things we talked about was, you know, just didn't need the second story of the press box concession stand.
Yeah.
I wanted your all's feedback on that, and just need concessions, storage, and bathrooms. Does everybody agree with that?
The one thing we, go ahead, the one thing you remember what we did, the one thing, Mr. Livingston, when we were on this committee, we put a flagpole right in the middle. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
What I want is a flagpole that's accessible.
That's exactly right.
Put that out in the complex,
Yeah.
not on top of the building. Yeah.
The two stories sounded like a great idea, but being at probably 50 or 60 tournaments over the years, it attracts the kids up there because they want to go up there and hang out because it's air conditioned and all that. And it's not really used to keep score because they're all
That's right.
Bluetooth. And so they're brought downstairs or plugged in or run on
Yeah.
Bluetooth or something. And so there's no reason to have a safe.
Yeah, that one in Muhlenberg just has the one story. We've got a scorekeeper's table with a cover on it right next to the infield. So they got a nice area they can keep score that they can plug in.
What we did do, we learned our lessons from the first one. We want to make sure we have enough storage.
Yep.
Because we didn't on the
Right.
first phase, so we need to make sure we have plenty for the
Yeah.
second. And-
So-
You won't need as much storage as some.
Well, that's a
Right.
good point.
Right.
That's a good point.
Tim did ask for some type of maintenance, a small maintenance building out that way.
Okay.
So,
nothing that's gonna
Yeah.
be
right, just
But-
a place to put
Garage
stuff.
door.
He would need a groomer for those fields, and
Yeah.
then just some place to keep. Like what Chad's talking about. We had to come back and we built that storage barn, and it looks great. We just don't have. We just want to make sure we have enough storage, and then
Gator out there already?
and then the other item was the dugouts, and what I mentioned. I think this is in Elizabethtown. The dugouts are partially. I don't want to say they're below grade, sunken, so it gives a better view, easier to view. Is that something you all want to see as an option?
Are they open, Judge? Like, I know that's been a discussion maybe from insurance at one point, like if somebody fouls the ball.
Oh, no, they're.
Fence in
Okay,
front of it.
all right.
What, the one problem with that idea is accessibility. And there was a court case where a district judge was in a wheelchair and trying to be a base coach on a little league team, and he was told he couldn't do it. He says, "Yes, I can." Ended up in the Supreme Court, and Little League lost. So you got to make all those dugouts accessible because your coach could be in a wheelchair. That's something you got to think. We could do a ramp down to it or something. But the idea of having it down so you can see over it, but usually we put bleachers sort of next to it and around it.
Maybe just the premier field or
Yeah.
something could have that.
Because that would add the cost of sinking it down. I mean, that's more.
Oh, it's when you
And
start
you got
digging.
drainage, water's going to sit in there.
Do you see a big, do you see a big difference in these, like when you've designed other ones? You see these crazy, like bricked-in dugouts versus more open, like, do you see a huge difference in the complex or the aesthetics? Because I know that can be a huge cost savings
Yeah.
as well, right? I mean, you were talking
Yeah.
like this brand dugout that a team's gonna sit in for an hour.
Yeah. But can you go back to just keep going back. Let me show you some of those dugouts.
Like a 3-foot knee wall,
Keep-
and then it's
Yeah,
fenced.
keep going. Yeah, not that one.
Like that one was basic.
That one was totally open. This one,
I
hopefully
think that
the
one
next
has like
slide.
a 3-foot wall.
Right there.
It's
Keep that
brick
one.
Capped on top, and
Yeah.
then it's
Kinda like-
fencing the rest of
Kinda
it.
like that thing.
Yeah, you see this one, this is the storage area. This is where they keep their pitching machines and the stuff for lining the fields and that kind of stuff. At the end of each usually just on one side,
And it's a little small wall in the back on that side, fence on the front. So it's sort of got some brick.
So probably the trade-off for having it partially below grade, the cost, probably, I mean, it's a, you got to weigh those things.
Right,
don't
and
you?
if you've got natural turf, then you're gonna get grass blown in there, your turfus or whatever is gonna end up down in there.
And then the last thing I wanted to mention is you can show right there that red sunshade,
Yeah.
that's a fabric. Whatever we do, we cannot have fabric sunshades because
Yeah.
they fade and
You have to replace them.
you have to replace them. I
Yeah.
mean,
You can do them permanent.
a permanent shade would be better.
They actually, the cover over the bleachers is really twofold. One is for shade. The other one is you foul balls from the field behind you that you're not looking at. It stops those.
Yeah.
So it's a safety issue as well.
Yeah.
Especially you get these big complexes with a lot of spectators in them. So you
So-
can protect the people that are in the bleachers. The people that are out other places, it's hard. So
A lot of those sales nowadays, they won't fade.
there's some better ones. They're getting better all the time.
Yeah, red's,
Yeah.
red's the worst color.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
the
Rick,
cost
You're right. You're right.
of the fabric, I'm sure the,
It's expensive.
Yeah,
Those sales are
I'm
not
looking
cheap.
into taking our fabric off and putting that on.
Yeah.
I think I can get that done, and that'll save us a ton, and then eventually, metal lasts so much longer, but it does make it, does cost $10,000, it costs.
Right. And I like how wide your dugouts are. They're wider than the one in this picture here. It just works
Nice.
pretty well.
are there any other pieces that you all want to discuss and we can,
Judge, up by the dog park where the new road's gonna come around, are we gonna do an entrance there, same as we're gonna have, as we got off of Betsy Way? You know, to try to tie it together a little better?
Like with a sign and a,
Yeah.
just like to announce it.
are you talking about
Put gate,
right here?
Yeah.
just past the road department, sheriff's
Oh,
department.
past the
We're gonna
road
do something
department?
there.
Yeah.
There's a parking lot there.
For the
Yeah, but
dog
there's
park.
nothing that says Great Crossings Park like we got coming
Yeah.
in off of Betsy.
Oh, you're talking now? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
You're talking about a sign.
We had two
Yeah,
pillars
just,
that we had to,
Pillars or something, just.
we had to move.
Here, they have a nice
We had
entrance.
two pillars there,
Yeah.
but we had to move one for the sheriff's office parking. But we could definitely incorporate a couple pillars and
It could be maybe
signage.
a little minor, just, you know, you've got
Yeah.
your major
Yeah.
sign, maybe something akin to that, but a little smaller, but I think that'd be a great idea.
Just, you know, out of towners coming in that way
They
to
don't know, yeah.
let them know.
Yeah.
So how many acres is involved in this whole
Yeah, you could,
complex?
Yeah.
You're saying here that 26 acres in red, that's all inside of what?
I think originally the whole place was, JR, help me.
It is a wall.
70-some? Originally, but inside that access drive and inside the road up by the road department, my understanding is that's incorporates 26 acres.
Yep.
I have another question. Joanne and I were just talking. Could we also maybe look at, like, we have a huge parking lot across the street. And Dwayne was just saying the tennis kids will walk already, but they have to walk out the driveway, down the road, because there's no path. We also maybe look at connecting from the park across to the high school, like with a walking path or
Well,
something.
That walking path will help.
The walking path. What'd you
There's a
say?
culvert.
Right from my gate,
Yeah,
and they put walking.
they put a walking something.
Oh, they have?
I had that done before I left. So this walking path though, where it's coming around to the pickleball, right
You
there,
think the
that's gonna
new
help.
walking path would help?
That'll help a lot.
Yeah, he's
That'll help
right.
a lot. Now, we might need to connect from the walking path up to the entrance gates or whatever, but.
Yeah.
I'm curious, where does that meet? Where do you all have that meet? Is it gonna lose now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it across there by the gate?
Right here.
Well, we just showing one coming down here
And stop it?
stop it, right into that trail that's here.
Yeah, so it makes it a little.
Yeah, so you got a loop that goes all the way around.
Oh, this parking.
Free. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they really?
Yeah. Once we get involved in the design of this, we can assign a committee that can sit down with us, work on the details. And once we have a really good topo map, that's really gonna help us a lot. Because there's a lot of grading has been done out here, and we don't know what it is.
Okay.
So that's gonna be a critical part of this, and a huge part of the cost.
Well, I think we've done what we wanted to today, and,
One more thing.
yes, sir.
What we have out there right now was started in 17. The planning started before then, and I think the construction, when did Great Crossing High School start?
Started, 17,
17, 18, that's exactly when what we have out there now is started. And it's now 2025. We're
26,
8 years.
2026.
26, yes. We're 9 years down the road for looking at a second phase. I continuously point to Cephaletta Water Park that has a phase 2 that is probably, Chad, how old is phase 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years old.
20 years old.
We, as a community, we've been really good at building phase 1, but not getting to phase 2. And this is going to be expensive. And we tried to push back then, let's do the entire thing, get it done. It would have been cheaper to do the entire thing back then. But we were unsuccessful in convincing of that. So we're 9 years down the road, 8 years down the road. By the time this could potentially be done, if we only did part of it, we'd be 10 years down the road from the first phase and only be at 1.5, phase 1.5. And then it'd probably be another 7 or 10 years before you'd finish out the rest of it. And then we would be 20-something years down the road and finally getting the park finished out, and probably not have gone back to spend the money on the maintenance on the previously built parks that we should have. So I really want to encourage everyone, the court, and especially our constituents, to understand that we need to quit building in phases like this, that we need to get projects done so that they don't get more expensive down the road and we don't begin cutting back on the quality of life because we just think that, oh, we'll have to spend the money later. I will step off my soapbox.
Any other comments, questions? And, this is certainly not, this is the start of the discussion. And I think we've got a good start, and we'll circle back and
The need is definitely there.
well, I was going to, the reason I invited Drew was, hey, to get his feedback, but I wanted you all to hear numbers about over the last years of growth of participation numbers, and then it's not going to get smaller.
I thought I was invited for my hair, but I guess I'm going to speak a little bit too. That's what JR tells me. Yeah, our leagues are only getting bigger. Like I said, when we open fields up for rental, whether it's travel teams or our league teams, they are full from March 1st through the end of October. So what Tim says is accurate. As soon as we open fields up for rental for tournaments, either at Great Crossing or our other parks, I mean, they're full all day, every day. They're packed. So the need's there. I think just some numbers if you want to hear them. I mean, baseball's getting about 700 kids in their league every season. Softball's 350 to 400, and that, spring, and then a few more in the fall. It isn't like the numbers are getting smaller. So the turf, that's why I keep saying that, for the traffic purposes, for your maintenance purposes. I'm a baseball guy, so I can answer any question you want on that side of things too, as far as even a lot of the storage that Pat's referring to. If you have turf, you don't need, because you don't have chalk liners and outfield grass painters and all that kind of stuff.
So, if we had an additional 4 or 5 fields, how does that take pressure off at Cephaletta and then Marshall as well?
Yeah,
I mean, it just gives kids more time to more place to practice. That's as big an issue as you have as there is, right?
Yeah, once the league starts, you're just playing games.
Yeah, I mean, but this would enable them.
Nobody's practicing. Yeah, you can't. There is no place to.
So this would greatly enhance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And especially if you had turf.
Judge, the other thing too, and Chad knows this, being on city council back in the day, is the baseball fields. We need room for the cemetery.
Well, that's
And so.
an active
You know,
conversation.
I mean, that's a conversation that's been going on. So you got to find field somewhere else. And this is the perfect place to do it, to be able to alleviate that when it finally gets to the doorstep, the cemetery has to be expanded. And then also, at some point in time, Marshall, you know, it's not always in the greatest shape. And the city needs land as they're building and growing as well. And so, you know, who knows, at some point that the city says, we need to build some kind of city infrastructure there.
Yeah, and we have a concept from Branstetter to help with Marshall Park as well, but,
Yeah.
the other thing I was gonna say, this fits right in line with the master plan, so your constituents, if they have questions, that also Branstetter helps put together, but this was the number one need. I mean, this is not a, oh, this is nice to do, or whatever, it's an absolute need for Scott County to add these fields, so.
That would be my only question is, and I've stopped in your office and talked to you.
Yep.
Because the questions I've been asked is, you know, is the mission statement for the kids of Scott County, or is this to host traveling teams?
Oh,
And
this is
we're
kids-
trying to make sure
sorry.
that we've, you know, we're spending the money for the people in our community and they all have access to the field and.
Yep, I think
They
that's
have
that.
access now.
Well, good.
I mean,
Because
they
didn't
do,
originally.
because we've already gone through that, probably, what, 4 years ago, Chad? Judge?
Yeah, we've transitioned to where we've dedicated these fields from March until the 1st of June, when their league concludes. They have priority on those fields, but before they didn't, like you say.
Well, and I just want, like, and my point is, you know, our taxpayers are paying for this, and their kids and grandkids are the ones I think should have preference to these fields, and then the traveling teams maybe play on the other fields. But however it works out, I know it's gotten better, but that's the primary concern I've had.
I'd agree with what you say, Kelly, and that's number one for us, obviously, the people of Scott County live here.
That's what,
pay
that's
taxes
the,
here.
that's, I'm gonna go with Kelly. That's what also I get. We're not in baseball anymore, so I don't know the baseball politics. But that's the number one thing I hear is when they open up to travel teams, that the priority aren't Georgetown tournaments, that it goes to, I'm telling you what I'm
No.
told.
I can answer
That it goes to other people from outside Scott County that are running these tournaments making money. That's what I hear.
So if you want to answer it, we have,
I think you need to look at the schedule.
yeah.
Well, that's what we need to publish, is like, here's the Scott County teams, how many kids. I think if we can put that information
I'm
out
talking
there.
about tournaments specifically.
Like, who's hosting them? I have no idea.
So we can,
It's a blind draw.
yeah.
Yeah.
The tournaments are, but as far
I'd
as,
say 30% of the summer games that we lease for are Scott County coaches with a team. They fund their teams by having a tournament.
But they have
a choice.
They have the opportunity to schedule, and they do schedule.
Yeah.
But they want to travel out, you know, like, they don't want to have our local teams don't want to have a tournament every weekend here. Is that right, Drew?
100%, yeah.
No parent wants to work a tournament every weekend. That's just it.
Great Crossings, you pay for your team's travel.
Yeah.
If you put it towards that, you will do that.
And the other thing I'll say, Ryan, even within our field rental policies, like if 75% or whatever percent of your team is from Scott County, you get priority. So like when the field lotteries open up through parks.
So like through this blind draw?
These are two different things.
I'm not
Yeah,
city. They got it
he's
till
his
June
own.
1st, it's all theirs. We don't lease to anybody till after June. And then the only person that's priority are the two high schools. I give them whatever date they want, as long as they don't override each other. We're cool with that. The rest of the weeks, into November, I've got all these people asking for dates. I said, send me multiple dates because there's not enough. I get all these names. I don't know, of course, I know some of them because they've been there before. I'm put them on a calendar, write their names down, draw, you got this date, I send them out by December 1st so they can start advertising their tournaments. Takes a while. And December 1st is booked every year. It's never been a problem.
But our local people, our local teams,
Oh, they'll put 3 or 4 dates in too.
they put 3 or 4 dates in
Normally,
too.
everybody that puts in a date gets one.
Right. Yeah, they're not getting turned
99% of the
away.
time.
And I think
There's only been 2 people I told they couldn't come back.
if we can, you know, kind of publish and get that information out, that, because I had a constituent call me who has lived here forever, his grandkid was playing, and this is right after we built the new fields, and he's like, we spent all this money on this new park, these new fields, why am I going to watch my kid, and I have to walk through the mud and through the old, you know, the old park, and,
At Suffaletta?
yeah.
Well, right.
But I mean, it is what it
Beautiful
is.
stuff out
But he was under the impression,
Much better than Marshall.
but he was under the impression that like we were using the fields for tournaments and not.
And that's how it was when we first opened. We weren't doing.
But for the last 4 years,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
It's gotten better, but I think there's still some of that, public perception that we can do a better job of just saying.
I think it's a perception, not a reality.
I was gonna say,
Sure.
I'd send them my way. Yeah, or send them my way, because I have good answers.
Well, hey, Kelly, the other thing on this too is like, nobody has the fields on Friday typically because Tim and his crew are having to drag the fields, line the fields for the weekend and try to get it straightened back up from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So when you go to an artificial turf field, you're going to add additional time that you can play out there that you haven't been able to play on before because they're not having to drag and fill holes and, re-brick the mound and all that stuff.
so by building these, and if you choose artificial turf, you're vastly enhancing the ability for local teams to practice as well as play March through the end of their season, first week of June. So,
Really through October,
yeah.
honestly, you have summer and fall season. It never stops.
It's reassuring to hear that, up to June the 1st, the county kids have priority.
100%.
Because a lot of these kids don't travel. We know that. And that gives them an opportunity to play on a very nice field that they're not going to get to play on somewhere else. So that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Drew. We'll continue this conversation. Thank you all for coming. Real quick, 1999 model ladder truck. Shared an email. Chief Baker, Chief Ward, the discussion of surplusing this with trying to get a minimum, a minimum amount out of it. I'll turn it over to you all to talk.
So with putting our new ladder truck in service, obviously we still have the old ladder truck that we're not going to keep. We're going to surplus. We're looking to different options, like Brindley mountain fire apparatus, like what we do with Engine 11, put it on. But just so happened, Marcellus Fire Department Chief was out the other day, saw the truck. They're interested in the truck, so we actually got a hold of Brindley to look at some different comps. As 99 ladder truck as opposed to what other folks are selling them for. 100,000 plus, 110, 115, somewhere in that ballpark. So, we have to surplus the truck and then make that offer to them, see if they'd be interested. And if not, then we can always go the Brindley route of trying to put it on.
So if we don't have to go the Brindley route, then we make it all. I mean, that's
We'd make it obviously.
So if we elected to put a surplus out and then put it out for bid, essentially, with we could put a minimum on that. Is that the route you all would like to go next Friday and look at? And then by then we have more information if Versailles wants to bid on it.
So we've actually spoke to them, kind of talked to see if they're still interested, and they've taken it to their city council and mayor and tried to see where they're going to go with it.
And kind of get their timeline. If they're very interested, let's try to coordinate their timeline to when we put a bid out. So, being good neighbors and trying to, but any other feedback on that?
We can get it to them. That'd be great.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
All right. And then we also shared, and Mark is here. Mark, I'll turn it over to you. I'd asked Mark because there's an article in the paper about OD deaths, and I wanted to confirm those. Mark confirmed those were accurate, and I shared that, and we're very blessed that those numbers are down. Very grateful. But there were a few questions, and just thought it'd be good to have Mark come and answer any questions. I think one of the questions, let me try to find my notes here.
One of the questions was like total investigation.
Yeah. When referring to total investigations, what does that mean? And then what is the authorization of cremation requests consist of? And then of the 117 deaths, how many involved investigations or any other procedure?
Well, to start off with, on the total investigations, that's every call for us. When we get the call from dispatch and they kind of let us know what we need to respond to or what we have, EMS has arrived on scene with fire. And obviously, we're the last responder. But actually, we start at that point on the way to the call with a kind of a mental investigation. Okay, this is such and such time of day. What's going on? When we get there, you'll look at things like cars in the driveway, no cars in the driveway. We meet with EMS. They're good about meeting with us when we first arrive on scene. They'll let us know what they found when they got there, or a certain patient that they worked and that patient's not made it. They'll let us know if family's there or not. We'll go in. After we meet with the EMS, we'll go in with, start looking at things like what's the thermostat set on in the room or the house? How long has that person been down? If family is there, we'll meet with family and discuss a health history on that person. And they usually give us a good health history. And then sometimes they say, well, my dad's 60 and he's never took an aspirin for anything, and here we are. So in that case, if we do not have anything to go on as far as health history or anything off the information that EMS gives us, then obviously that's going to be a case for Frankfurt to take.
Is it automatically, like in that scenario, would that automatically get sent to Frankfurt before we review?
If it's something that we do not have if they can't give us any history on that patient, and sometimes we go in and they'll say, well, Dad's had 2 open heart surgeries. He's had stents placed. He's on heart medication, stuff like that. Okay, so we kind of know what the outcome's going to be. But if it's something that, they just, he's perfect, he's in perfect health, we don't know why this has happened, yes, it would go to Frankfurt. Of that 117 last year, 28 of those went to Frankfurt for a full autopsy.
So, okay, you get to the point where you say it's got to go to Frankfurt, or we kind of figured out what the situation is. It was a very unhealthy person that just passed away. If it goes to Frankfurt, what's your process and time frame that you have to spend for it to go to Frankfurt?
It's average, because we have to remove that person from the scene.
Correct.
We're going to bring them back to our office, our facility, and we have to generate a request for an autopsy form. So probably preparing that person to go to Frankfurt, that would probably consist of like an hour after we brought them back, because we have to do certain things to that person, put tags and stuff like that before we go to Frankfurt. And then you'll go to Frankfurt, and then you're checked in there. And like I say, they're open 24/7, so there's a lot of times where we might be down there at 3 o'clock in the morning, taking someone down. And if you can beat, it's kind of like if it's a call you have before midnight, and you can get that person down there before they start work at 5 o'clock every morning, your autopsy will be done that morning. If not, you're going to be pushed to the next day.
So
Autopsies.
the request for autopsy paperwork, is the family, do they? have to sign off?
That's what we fill out. We have to fill out and kind of give a brief summary of the call and what we found, what we suspect, and then we fill that out, and we have to take that with us, obviously, and that's what the medical examiners, they kind of look at that, and if they have any questions, they'll call us. But once the autopsy is complete, we'll go back to Frankfurt and pick them back up and then bring them back to our facility and place them in our morgue for the funeral homes to pick up.
So you said out of the 114, 117, there were 20-something that went to Frankfurt?
28 full autopsies, and then if it's not a full autopsy, we'll draw toxicology ourselves. If it's something that we're curious about, maybe an overdose or something like that, we'll do the blood draw ourselves and then send that off to the lab in Indianapolis, and we actually did 11 of those last year. As far as, and the reason we investigate these is because we have to determine the cause and manner of death for people that pass, and we have to sign that, obviously, on the death certificate. That's kind of on the coroner's office.
Because I put most of these questions in my email, so.
Right.
So on the 28th that went to Frankfurt, what about the others? Those were just where you determined it was possible natural causes or whatever from your perspective and did the paperwork locally and they didn't have to go to Frankfurt?
Right. Okay. And then as far as I want to try to explain the cremation request. The coroner's office has to authorize cremation of an individual. That person cannot be cremated unless we sign off on it.
Anybody?
Anybody.
Okay.
And we have to sign off that, okay, we're comfortable with all the findings and cause of death and everything. We'll have certain calls that we don't go on. If the person goes into the hospital and they're there longer than a 24-hour period, it's not our call. Basically, the doctor or the person that doctor is seeing, the doctor takes care of doing the death certificate and anything that we would do. Nursing home calls. We do not make nursing home calls. However, since the nursing home has started with their rehab, they have a rehab center. Like a part of that nursing home is a rehab where someone goes in there for just rehabilitation and they're not a long-term resident. That's our call. Hospice calls. We do not make the hospice calls. Anyone that goes into the hospital, like they go into the ER and they're there for less than a 24-hour period, then we're called on those calls.
So on the authorization for cremation, basically all you're saying is, from your perspective, is there's no foul play that you're.
Well, and that's a good question, Dave. I got off on something else there, but I want to talk about that real quick, is we get those requests from funeral homes because they're getting ready to schedule that person for cremation. And they'll send them to us by fax or email, and we have to obviously go and look over them. If it's kind of, if you see on that death certificate that, or that provisional, the death provisional, that that person, elderly in their 90s, passed away at the nursing home, some of those are just, you can sign those with, but if you get that person that's 60 that passed away in the hospital, but you didn't make the call because it was after the timeline, then sometimes we might want to call the hospital and check, what was the cause of that person's death, because that person could have been involved in some foul play or something like that, or something criminal or anything like that. And once you cremate someone, that's it. So we want to make sure before we sign off on that it's okay. It's kind of, we feel pretty good about signing off. We just don't want to sign it and send it to them, because once we do that, we said we're good with it, go ahead. So we want to investigate those cases.
On signatures on these type of things, whether signing to go to Frankfurt or, whatever, the death certificate or the cremation, does it have to be your signature by statute, or can it be
It can be my deputy.
Okay.
It can be a deputy but.
And so it's typically, if that person is working that the entire time, then they would sign off on it?
Sure.
Versus, okay.
And as far as, and death certificates are the same. Usually I like to let the deputy that's on call that week, and if it's that call that they made and that's their case, usually I like for them to do the death certificate and everything. Because
do you all keep record of who makes what call at what time and
yes.
things like that? Okay.
We've actually, something I started, I think it was last July, I started kind of keeping time sheets a little bit on some of these calls and how much time's involved. I just, we had to get an order for a person that we picked up about 3 weeks ago because of a next of kin issue. And We probably got 40 hours plus in that particular case, and we've had them for 3 weeks. In fact, I still have them, but I was able to release that person yesterday to a funeral home, and we're waiting on
When
them.
you say 40 hours plus, how, over what period of time?
Probably the 3 weeks that we've had them, you know, because it's contacting next of kin or trying to contact next of kin. And with that, we have to go to the police department.
Is that family member gonna come to the funeral home and?
He called me, and he was very thankful that we got that. And this was a stepson that was on the deceased husband's side, but we had to find out from someone on her side of the family. And nobody had really came forward. I mean, we called people and called people, but you'll invest a lot of hours in some of those cases. Normally, the hours, you know, the cases that are routine, you're probably looking at 4 to 6 hours a case. Cases that are going to involve some work, you're looking at probably 6 to 10 or 12 hours. It's just every one of them is different, the amount of time that you're going to put into them. I mean,
And just to remind everybody, Coroner Sutton has 3 deputies. One deputy is on call 2 weeks out of the month. The other 2 deputies are on call 1 week. Is that correct, Mark?
Yes.
So.
But that answer?
I think that answered all my questions.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? And then we can have Chris Runyon and Brandon make comment about OD run-related data.
And there's one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Judge. And there is a thing, and it's just the law. I don't care for it because I can't follow my cases. But if we have someone that's in a car crash or someone here in Scott County, and they're taken to UK Hospital, and they pass there in the ER, you know, it's not my case. That belongs to Fayette County. So see, and that's the same with some of the overdoses. Sometimes we'll have an overdose and they'll make it to the hospital. And they're transferred to UK because of the overdose, and then they pass. So
does that overdose death count for Fayette County's overdose death? How is that?
We're going to count it for us because it happened in Scott County. I mean, you know, just
And I bet
hypothetically
for Fayette County too.
Yeah. But we also, but with that overdose count, we had like 9 opioid overdoses, and then we had 2 prescription med overdoses, and then 1 alcohol overdose. But that's total overdoses on everything. But we're looking at the opioid, which was 9. That's correct?
Mark, thank you.
All right.
Much appreciated for all that information. And
That's probably more information than I've had from the coroner since I've been sitting here.
Well, and I've got
that's good
something
stuff.
I'd like to hand.
It
I got
is.
a little packet I'd like to hand out to you
Okay.
guys to kind of let you know the duties of the coroner and the responsibilities, because I know a lot of it is, we don't talk about it a lot, and I know you all don't hear a lot about it, but it's just to kind of help out, understand things. And there's probably a ton of stuff that I haven't mentioned that
Well, we typically don't ask a ton of questions because you're an elected official just like we are, so I try not to get in your business and, you know,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
all right.
Rick Hostetler.
Back to those overdose deaths, that the overdose starts here, but it ends in Fayette County.
Well,
But you're
that's-
still able to find that out, or?
Well, if I could usually get the information from EMS, hey, we transferred so-and-so, doesn't look too good, you know, I can check into it by getting in touch with Fayette County or whatever to see.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, we were kind of laughing about, well, Gary's probably counting it, we're counting it.
Well, I didn't,
No, I know, but I mean, that is kind of comical, but just looking at statistics, and that's just gathering data, that's an interesting look at it. If you know, EMS knows it's an overdose run, and they're on the way to Lexington, and then they lose them there at the hospital. It's really a Scott County overdose death, but technically the death happens in another county, so I can see where that cloudies the numbers when you're, you know.
sure,
but-
sure, and that doesn't happen, you know,
Sure.
a lot. I think we had one last year that was picked up, and they were pretty much that fast in Lexington. And it gets back to the car crashes too and stuff like that, the wrecks that people are in. And you know.
Well, that would be the same.
They go to
Yeah.
UK, and that's where they pass, but the incident happened in Scott County. I know SO, you guys run into that sometimes with some.
But I think that those deaths would be reported as Scott County deaths because the reporting that we do on our accident reports, because we mark on that accident report, a fatality occurred in that accident, so that would only be reported to Scott County.
At the site, that's related to the site of the, yeah.
Now, Mark, while you're up here, though, just, I know it's the budget season, all those things, just, and I've been over to your site, and I know you need some improvements in your office area and things like that, so don't forget to bring those with you when we're looking at that this spring.
Oh, the front parking area.
Front parking lot area, where it's drainage and stuff like that, so it's a problem. That building's, I mean, draining water down straight into the building, so it's not a.
It's a good old building.
Yeah.
I like being there, and I appreciate the.
I think we can figure something
opportunity.
out. It needs to be done. Something needs to be done.
And thank you all for what you do too. And the deputy coroners, because that's not something that I could do.
No, thank you.
All right.
Chris? Brandon?
Morning. So Brandon has the majority of this information. You know, he responds out on all our overdoses after the fact to offer what resources we can. So I'll let him make the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Chris and Brandon.
Good morning, Judge, Magistrates. Thank you so much. So just to touch a little bit on what Mark had mentioned, anytime we get an overdose, you know, we follow up on information. Obviously, if it's a death and it is transported outside of Scott County, you know, I do usually email Mark or call Mark, and we try to coordinate that information. And the numbers sometimes that you might see from the state will be maybe off from ours. I will tell you the majority of the numbers that you would get from like my office or Mark's office are probably going to be a little more accurate. And the reason why I say that, all of our run reports go through the Kentucky Board of EMS. They are required to collect information on overdoses, and that's for any EMS agency in the state of Kentucky. Unfortunately, and I have spoke with their data collection team over at the Board of EMS, they base an overdose off by the way the call is dispatched. So it may come out as an overdose, and it's going to get reported to the state as an overdose, but it may not be. So numbers that you might see at a state level, it might show that our numbers are way off from maybe information that you would gather from the state. I'm sorry.
Or it could just be unresponsive patient dispatch.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Or it could be, come out as an overdose, and it may just be simply maybe a patient has taken an extra dose of medication, not necessarily harmful, just they accidentally took, you know,
Took the wrong medication.
took the wrong medication,
Yeah.
something along that lines that's, once again, no harm to the patient, but it gets classified. When we're looking at numbers, you know, we're really tracking the narcotic overdoses or substance use disorder numbers is what we're looking at. So that's, I just want to make sure that you kind of understand. If you do see numbers that are way off, our numbers are probably going to be a lot more accurate.
Why is it that way, and can that be fixed? That sounds dumb.
That's a good question. Unfortunately, it's just the software that they use and trying to, you know, when they extract data, they said that's kind of the way that the state wanted them to extract it. So that's just the way it is. So, yeah.
They don't know how to use Excel. They don't know how to
Yeah,
do cells.
unfortunately, you know, it's just one of those things when those runs come in, it just scans that run form and it picks up overdose and it automatically reports it then. So, yeah, but of course, as you know, as Mark said, our overdose deaths were down from last year, which is wonderful. Our highest years as far as overdose responses actually came during that COVID era. And just to kind of go back and just to kind of give you an idea, 2000 we were at 125 patients that we saw. 2021, 199. 2022, 201, and 2023, 203. I guess
Pretty consistent.
Yeah. Now, once we kind of got out of that COVID era, we saw a significant drop. So in 2023, we responded to 203. 2024, we dropped down to 72. Last year, in 2025, we made 54 overdose responses, which is phenomenal. And, hopefully those numbers continue to trend down. Some of the things that, once again, Scott County, we have a lot of resources for people that has substance use disorders. Of course, with the health department, their SSP that they have in place. Our law enforcement agencies being on top of it. We see all the time in the paper where they've made a drug interdiction somewhere, either on the interstate or just their officers being out, the patrol. That's a great thing. I work very closely with the recovery team at Georgetown Police Department. Once again, we share a lot of information. They work really hard getting people into treatment centers. I go out with them on most of our follow-ups. Our goal is within 72 hours of an overdose, we try to make contact with those individuals. That team, they know a lot about the recovery centers throughout the whole state of Kentucky. If somebody's wanting to go to a recovery center, they kind of know what might work best for those individuals. Ultimately, that individual has the choice to go anywhere, but sometimes they kind of help guide them and say, I think this would be a better place for you to go, just kind of knowing their history and so forth. Of course, our mental health court that Judge Gabbert has and drug court, I think that has a lot to do with trying to get people into recovery and getting them back on the right path and just kind of being that little extra guiding hand to help individuals overcome their disorders. But some very interesting information that was just shared with me through the health department. So a couple years ago, the police department worked on getting the Narcan distribution boxes throughout the community. Currently, there's 7. They're looking to add 10 more. But the health department's been tracking data since those have come out in 2024. And as I mentioned, we kind of had the peak of our overdose responses then. But since those Narcan boxes making Narcan more readily available, we've also seen the number of overdoses drop too. So they have a lot of that data that I'm sure that I know that they'll probably be coming here soon to share.
How much total Narcan they've given out? How many doses? Do you have an idea?
Sure. So Jason Christopher with the Georgetown Police Department, he kind of maintains those boxes, and I think he said on average monthly he usually puts out throughout the 7 boxes that they currently have, usually 100 boxes of Narcan a month is usually what he.
He's having to restock it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that'd be my question,
Yeah.
right? Like, just because somebody at home or a family member or a friend is giving somebody Narcan doesn't mean somebody's not overdosing.
Absolutely.
People are overdosing.
Absolutely.
They're just getting Narcan and then overdosing again.
Absolutely, yeah. And once again, our ultimate goal is to help somebody get into recovery, but also preventing those deaths. Yes, you're absolutely right. We know people are still overdosing, but I think it's the fact that we do have a lot more resources available. And even with our responses, most of the time when we arrive, they've already received a dose of Narcan, whether it's through a family member or whether it's through law enforcement that has already arrived on scene and they carry that Narcan with them.
I'd like to see those total Narcan distribution numbers to see how much is actually going out there being used.
We'll get with Rachel and have Rachel come maybe in March and share that. So good piece. Anything else, Brandon?
I don't have anything else, but I'd be happy to answer any
So
questions.
I was really glad to see the numbers going down. I think that's awesome, and I really appreciate you sharing all this information, because the question in my mind was, why is that happening? And I think you've kind of hit on that, but also that's part of your position, and I think that's had an effect. Your follow-up, because you've been in this position 2 years now, ish.
Yeah, just about a little over 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the purpose, right? When we talked about it, and that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like your interdiction in the process as you show up and the aftercare, isn't that a part of this? Which I think.
Sure. So
I'm confident that Brandon Rimley
I
makes
would
it
say
a
the same thing, yeah.
makes a priority to develop relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's the strength of what we're
Yeah, and
the
that's
position.
kind of what I'm seeing, and that was the reason. And then you've highlighted all these other things that are going on, like the Narcan and the availability and family members, and because we all know once that heart stops beating, the opportunity's over for the individual. So Narcan keeps the heart beating. So, and that's cool. But in your interaction with these folks, is it illicit drugs, illegal drugs? Is that mostly?
Mostly, we're still, I try to have our crews report, most individuals are usually very honest with what they're using. And we're still seeing mostly heroin and fentanyl. Fentanyl kind of being number one of what people is the drug of choice. Every now and then you might have somebody that's still using the Percocet or something like that, but it's primarily fentanyl is what we're seeing.
Well, one other comment, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but with this net device, it takes people off all that. Happens within a week, 5 to 7 days. And then we're still treating people. We're going to have that discussion here in a minute because we've treated over 70 people in Scott County with the net device. And it sounds to me like, and not everybody wants it. It is a choice. The net device is a choice. But ladies are getting treated, and one guy's been treated out here at Mary Safe Haven, as well as we're treating in the jail and still treating in Isaiah House and in where is the men's facility? Willisburg, and then in Harrodsburg for the women that don't go to Mary Safe Haven. But I'm hoping you're aware of that, and they still need the aftercare. But when this device takes away the withdrawals, that's the first thing that I have found, because my wife and I have started a net device support group for people that have been treated, and many of those people have been here and gave their testimonies. It's life-changing, and it takes away the withdrawals within about 30 minutes, and that's what stops everybody I ever talk to. I don't want to go through that. Well, I never did that, so I can't personally attest to it, but what they tell me, I don't want to go through it either. I wouldn't want to. The device takes care of that. It's got a proven track record. It's FDA approved to do that very thing. And then all the talking to these interviews with these folks afterwards, they don't have a craving anymore. That's the second thing that happens. It keeps people in that cycle. They still need the aftercare, the things you're doing, pointing them to treatment facilities, because it's more than, why are you on drugs? It's all those things. Why did you start? And the other sad thing that we found out in this, just a few people that we're working with, every one of them, to the person that we've been dealing with, started when they're teenagers. Many of these people are in their 30s and 40s. Most of them are ladies that are coming to our support group, but not all. There are a couple men involved. And alcohol's been one of the guys has been treated for his alcohol problems, and it's done the same thing for him. And it's kind of amazing. So, but anyhow, I was glad to hear all that information, because it sounds like there's a lot of tools in the toolbox that, first of all, is keeping people alive, and then second of all, trying to get them to the point where they walk away from the life of addiction, and I appreciate that. So,
Thank you, Rick. Brandon, thank you. Anything else? No. So on our agenda for next Friday will be for you all to consider an amendment to the net purchase agreement that we have, going from 74 to 94. That would be an additional $3,500 per 20 participants, which would be $70,000 total. Right now, there's a balance of $386,000 in the opioid settlement fund. So this will be for your consideration for approval on Friday morning, and would value any comment or such. And I think there's evidence to continue what we're doing. So that's not really, we can put that on there. And then I do not have any other business. Does anyone else have any other business?
one other comment to your last one there, Judge, about treating 20 more participants, is it is the opioid settlement money that we're using. And I like that. It's not tax dollars. It's that opioid settlement fund. And it can be used also, I know we're not doing it, but it could be, we set it up. It could be used to help pay for people to go into this aftercare treatment. Even if they get treated with a net device, they still need help. I mean, they're coming out of a pretty bad lifestyle. So.
Do we have to surplus the ladder truck?
So that'll be on the agenda for Friday to make a decision. Do you want to surplus it and then put it out for bid with a minimum bid on it? And then hopefully by then we'll have a little feedback from Versailles. And, you know, my question is if Versailles came back and said, hey, we're willing to just pay, we'd like to have it, we'll pay you $100,000 or whatever that might be. Is that something, the pleasure of the court, would y'all want to?
I don't know how to show it straight.
I think you can if you want to.
Which they
I think you can do that if you want to. It's another government agency doing the same thing.
So we could surplus it to Versailles if they wanted, if that was the pleasure of the court.
They're donating, basically.
Yeah. So we'll communicate, and I'll communicate with you all.
And then the contract with Branstetter and Carroll, we have to go forward with that Friday as well.
So now I will go back and meet with Monica and talk about terms.
Okay, gotcha.
So, all right. If there's nothing else, then we will adjourn. Thank you all.